Hello everybody, this is Jack Leeson with MajorLeagueTraining.com coming at you with your weekly Nadex video. I like to start off by talking about the major news announcements. It is Tuesday here, April 3rd, so I'll go over the news announcements for Wednesday, 2:30 a.m. Great Britain Pound Construction PMI. In the morning, we're going to have non-farm employment change at 6:15, ISM non-manufacturing PMI at 8:30, crude oil inventories at 7:30. We're going to have the trade balance out of the Australian dollar. At 2:30 a.m., services PMI. At 6:30, we have the trade balance out of the Canadian dollar. On Friday, a bunch of Canadian dollar news, employment change, unemployment rate, and then average hourly earnings and non-farm employment change, as well as unemployment rate for the U.S. dollar, followed up at 9:15, Bank of England Governor Carney will be speaking, finishing off with Fed Chair Powell speaking, which will be on Friday at 11:30, which could be a big mover. He's the head of the federal bank, and it could be a big mover here because the last time we sold off really heavily was really during his press conference in the S&P 500, and that's what I'm going to be talking about here today. Going back to, this is a 4-hour chart, going back to the 21st of March, we had a sell-off that began. We're continually making lower lows and lower highs right now, and I want to talk about where I think we could potentially go before finding major support. I got like about a 10-point range I'm looking at, really with 25.06 quarter being that actual support level that I'm looking for a potential long setup. Now, this might not trade this week, but you're going to want to look for it next week as well if it doesn't trade this week, or whenever it does trade at or below. Okay, I'm just going to throw a couple of alerts down here because I want my alerts going off like ding, 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 like left and right when we come down into these support levels that I'm looking at. And then I also want to talk about, I'm going to go to a higher time frame chart here because it's been a very long time since we've actually had like significant sell-offs. So I'm going to go to a 5-year daily chart, and we're going to look back at some of the previous sell-offs, and I'll explain to you how we've made excuse me, lower lows before actually continuing higher. Let's look at the last major sell-off that we truly had here, and that was going back to the beginning of 2016, and those lows produced a major rally. And if you think about it, that was 1800. That was 2 years ago, and we are roughly almost 1,000 points higher from that point, 800 points right around there, but we were 1,000 points higher in just 2 years. So think about it, guys. That's a huge move. We'd have a huge move in the markets, and on those lows at the beginning of 2016, we made a low and then a new low before actually rallying heavy out of that. And then let me actually go back. I want to go back to 2012 here. So I'm going to go to a 10-year chart. And then once again, you can see we had a major sell-off in 2012, 2011. Actually, this is 2011. So we had a low and then a new low before we ripped higher. So this is, a normal formation for us to actually make is a low, which is the initial sell-off, and then a new low before we actually move higher. And all that does is to shake and bake, and what I'm looking for is this 2506 to 2517 level for potential support. And mark that on your chart, pay attention to it. It could be, could be the potential low of the year because I do think it's a pretty significant support. And then also the Great Britain Pound, USD, I see gaining strength here, and we do have a lot of, just to go back to those news events, tonight we have construction PMI, then we're going to have services PMI tomorrow, and then we're going to have Bank of England Governor Carney speaking. And I think that the Great Britain Pound USD can actually break out here, so I'm looking for a move at least up to 141.23, and then potentially through that level. So that is a potential trade setup I'm looking at here in the Great Britain Pound USD. Do you think we get this move higher? And I'd really like to see a breakout of this consolidation and us take out new highs of the year eventually. But that's going to wrap up this week's Nadex training video. Everybody take care and have a great week.